I got the terrible news that 2 robbers had killed my lover when I was 19 years old. My anguish was too much for me to bear. At the tender age of 20, he was at the start of a new chapter in his life. He was now permanently estranged from his family and myself. I found it difficult to accept this fact. I had never been so near to death before, and it opened my eyes to how fragile and fleeting life is. Since I couldn't undo what had already transpired, I felt lost and useless. I started to lose interest in things and wonder what the point of life is. School is pointless. Work for what reason? Just what are the benefits of getting married? I was tormented by their inquiries. It appeared as though existence had no purpose when faced with the prospect of death. No one, not even my pastor or teachers, could assist me out when I asked for their advice. My mood deteriorated to the point where I experienced clinical depression. I sought assistance from my parents in this matter. I went to see a psychiatrist because of them. For 2 weeks, I faithfully followed my doctor's orders and took the medication he had recommended. Going on vacation with my parents also helped me overcome my mental health issues. Tragically, my best friend from high school passed away in a car crash 4 years later. There were a lot of memorable moments and fun times spent together. To me, he was a crucial figure. We had so many great plans, but now he's never coming back to me. There was a profound sense of isolation and suffering thereafter. Even more disheartening and powerless was the fact that my parents' relationship had been progressively strained to the point that they were contemplating a divorce. There was a sense of total isolation and a lack of empathy for my anguish and loss. I looked for solace and support, but it seems like nobody could comprehend my inner life. My entire world seemed to be collapsing around me as I descended into a pit of misery. In an effort to convey my displeasure and unhappiness with my parents, I chose to compose a letter to them. It wasn't a simple choice, but I felt compelled to make it nevertheless. I went to my room, located some paper and a pen, and settled down to write. I put in a lot of time and effort to find the right words to describe how I was feeling. They were not living up to my expectations of them as parents, and I expressed my unhappiness in them to them. It seemed as though they had never given me their whole attention or comprehended the depth of my emotional suffering. I informed them that I preferred not to communicate with them anymore. To the best of my ability, I expressed my honest opinion. I felt a bit better after finishing this letter. The letter was placed on my desk. I was feeling rather down that night. I was feeling down, so my friend suggested we go to a bar and unwind. We began to drink and revel in our newfound independence at the bar. This mood would not leave me. I felt as though I were drowning in a bottomless pit. Because they were concerned about me and wanted to lend me a hand, my pals took note of my mood swings. Someone I knew brought out some pills that would supposedly help me feel better. At the time, I had no idea what these medications were or what they included. Didn't think twice about taking them because I simply wanted to lift my sluggish mood. My dizziness and subsequent vomiting worsened as time went on. I felt very helpless, even though my friends tried to assist me. Arriving at my friend's place, I began to feel a haze in my consciousness. It seemed as if my spirit and physical being had come apart. As if space and time had halted, the entire world around me went silent. I was startled and worried by this strange sensation. I had no idea what had happened to me or how to return to reality. My swift journey took me into a black hole and out into the light. I felt a bit lightheaded from all the bright lights. In this bright room, I felt that all the pieces fit together harmoniously. This emotion seemed so genuine. Here I found the answers to all my questions. I was able to obtain straightforward responses to all of my inquiries. I felt like I had found my eternal home here, and Earth was merely a stopover. My past started to reassemble itself. I relived my entire life on Earth, from my early years to my adolescent years. When I finally grasped the significance of these events, I was astounded and moved by them. It all made sense now. The things that had hurt me in the past. God seemed to have a deeper understanding of who I was than I did of myself. No matter what happened to me here on earth, I knew that God had complete control. His plan for my life is flawless. Because life is a gift in and of itself, we should treasure every moment of it and do our best to fill it with joy and happiness. I discovered my forever home and the purpose of my being here. On this journey, I reconnected with a friend who had tragically passed away in a vehicle crash. Despite my inability to see him, I could sense his enormous presence. Words were unnecessary when I was chatting with my pal. The presence and ideas of the other person were palpable. Once upon a time, my friend was an atheist. His faith in God was strengthened and his appreciation for life's purpose illuminated after his arrival here. I felt a surge of confidence and ease just being around my pal, even though he had departed this body. Realized that his spirit had not died. Because of this, I now think that death is really a new beginning, not a final chapter. This place gave me the sense that my spirit will last forever, and that our lives matter. I was required to make a decision at one stage of this process. It was a real choice: stay here and perish, or go back to Earth and finish the task I had started but hadn't gotten around to finishing. I couldn't help but think of my friend at that same moment. I hoped she wouldn't wake up and discover my demise. I didn't want her to have to deal with the guilt and shame that came with having to endure such a terrible ordeal. Coming to terms with the fact that I had yet to accomplish all of my aspirations, I made the decision to go back to Earth and give my ambitions and desires another go. I was thankful that I could still make a decision. My sense of belonging in that space began to erode the moment I made the decision to come back to Earth. I was being pulled back into reality by an unseen power. As the intensity of this energy increased, I became more conscious of my physical self and my immediate environment. My body started to ache from the strain. My pulse rate increased, and I could feel my breathing getting shallower. The car's horn sounded to me. My body felt energized as soon as I got back to the real world. Suddenly, I had a strong urge to drink water, so I reached for the big bottle on my desk and began to quench my thirst. Midway through, I had the queasy feeling that my tummy was going to burst. I went to the restroom in a flash and puked up a lot of water. It had been a long time since I had last drank water or urinated, and I knew it. I felt a light breeze caress my cheeks and a breath of fresh air the following morning as I stepped out of the house. A stunning sunrise was visible as I peered into the horizon. I can honestly say that it was a breathtaking sight. The scene was really breathtaking. Like it had just transpired, the event from last night flooded my mind with vivid details. My perspective on life had shifted. I knew it. Death, I realized in this encounter, is not the conclusion but the beginning. I am not scared at all. Sharing my story in the hopes that it might shed light on similar situations seemed like my duty. I gained a deeper appreciation for life's simple pleasures and the people in it as a result of this ordeal. Life is a gift, and I learned the hard way that we should treasure every moment of it. Additionally, I was convinced of God's existence after this event. My grandpa was told he had lung cancer several years down the road. No substantial improvement was noted after the treatment. The physicians informed us that my grandpa's health was deteriorating. I stayed at home with him at that period. His anxiety about dying and his grief over leaving his loved ones were palpable. Frequently, he would confide in me his anxieties regarding what lies ahead. I wished him a smooth farewell, even though I knew it was coming. Seated at his side, I delicately took hold of his hand. I confided in him that I had experienced near death. The afterlife is real, and it's better than anything we can fathom, in my opinion. Trying to put into words the indescribable sensation I had while there, as well as the ethereal beauty and light I saw. Our spirits will live on in the hereafter, so there's no need to be afraid of dying. As I beheld his features, I beheld the tears welling up in his eyes. I could feel his attentive ears picking up on my every word. His face relaxed, and I could tell. He confided in me that after hearing my advice, he felt stronger and more resolved to face death head-on. He expressed gratitude for the solace my story had brought him, saying he had overcome his fear of death and had faith that his soul would go on. He finally dozed off after we kept talking. I slipped my fingers out of his and departed from his chamber. My grandpa departed this life 1 month later. Despite my overwhelming sadness, I had faith that he had passed on to a better realm. I have faith that we shall be reunited in heaven at some point in the future. My mission has been clarified for me by this event as well. In an effort to assist others who suffer from a fear of dying, I started telling more people about this event. I reassured them that death is not the end, but rather the beginning of a new and improved existence.